Peg has an inspirational interval. There you go.
Thank you. I'm Peg Froley. Some of you may know me from doing this and being the worship assistant each week, but today I'm doing a little different role. I am celebrating my 6th anniversary here at Unity, and through the past 6 years, there's been a lot that's gone through my life. Some really good, some really bad. I've been walking along a spiritual journey, and I've had some really good guides. Many of them are you, my Unity family. And Rev Cynthia manages to hit the nail on the head so many Sundays for me that it inspires me and it makes me want to go out and be an even better person. And I'm going to give you an example of one of those lessons. A couple weeks ago when she was talking, it sort of hedged a little bit on politics, but not necessarily. How there's so many people that have fear. We're afraid. But that goes to the other side, too. It's not just us who may be afraid of what's happening in our country, what's happening with our leaders, what's happening with the world, what's going to happen to all of us. Everyone shares that common feeling of fear. And it really made me open my eyes. It made me understand my brother, who likes to post all kinds of things on Facebook about guns and knives. And that scared me. It scared me. It used to. But I understand that he's coming from his place of fear. And while I cannot go out in the world and make everything better by waving a magic wand, I think we all would do that if we had the power. I set out that week to make it a point to greet everyone I had an interaction with at the grocery store, my usual errands. We're in the process of buying a house, so I've been meeting with the realtor and the finance guy and doing a lot of running around. But I have made it a point to thank them for their time, how much I appreciate them, and having them on my team. Well, last Saturday, a week ago, I had to go run errands, and I don't like to on Saturdays because that's the day that all the Monday through Friday workers are out. And I desperately needed my hair trimmed, so that was number one. And then I had to run a few other errands. When I was at Great Clips, there was a young man sitting there in army fatigues with sort of muddy army boots. And I had to wait a few minutes for my haircut. And I sat next to him and I said, in case no one's told you today, I really want to thank you for taking care of us and looking out for us. It means a lot to me and everybody else. And he said, well, thank you. And you're the first person to tell me that today. And I said, well, I hope you hear it more. And as the time went on, we were getting our hair cut about the same time. And he got finished, and I thought, I really want to do something for him. So I said, young man, come here, please. I'd like to pay for your haircut. And he said, you don't have to do that. And I said, oh, I know I don't have to do it. I want to do it. I have to do it for me because it's my way of giving a little bit of my love to you for what you do. And he kind of blinked his eyes, looked like he was tearing up, and went on his way. And, well, he, of course, thanked me and went on his way. And then I had to go to a couple stores, and both places my cart was fairly hefty as far as the number of items in there. And one store, I looked behind me, and there were two young women who only had about 4 or 5 things. And I said, would you please go ahead of me? They looked at me like I was talking a foreign language. And I said, really, honestly, I have so much more than you do. I'm in no hurry, and I'd feel a lot better if you went ahead. So they went ahead, they thanked me, and kind of looked like they were looking around for some candid camera stunt or something like that. So then I went on to the next store, same thing, have a cart with probably 10 or 12 items. somebody behind me with just one or two, and I said, would you please go ahead of me? Why? And I said, well, because you have a couple items, and I'm just trying to be nice. You know, it's just my way of trying to be a nicer person in the world with everyone I meet. And I'm not telling you these stories so that you'll say, wow, isn't she swell, and pat me on the back. But I went home feeling so good that day. It was just a feeling of joy that I had touched a few lives in a positive way. You know, it had nothing to do with politics. It had nothing to do with fear. It was just let's all reach out to each other and share love and be love. And that's one thing I have learned more and more through Unity. And my mom even said Unity's made me a better person. So you got to, coming from her and any of those you who knew her, she wasn't exactly the easiest person to get along with, but, you know, beautiful woman, and I love her for giving me life. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you folks because I think that in our own way, each and every one of us every day can give something. It doesn't have to be monetary. It's just giving acknowledgement of each other's existence and that we're all here on this earth, and reaching out to each other one at a time can really change the world, at least the world we live in. And that is really what I wanted to share with you, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That tale of loving kindness is going to set us up perfectly for the first movie clip. The only movie clip. Here we go. You know how I like that.
Here it comes! Well, hello. We're very glad to see you. You kept your word.
Probably enough. Yeah. So in case you didn't recognize those people, those monsters, that was Godzilla and Mothra. And all I can say is that that's kind of how I've been feeling lately. Like, there's a couple of big, huge monsters out in the world creating chaos, and I'm running around screaming, or smiling, whatever that strange part of the clip was. And I can't actually say that I've seen the whole movie, but we all know the genre, right? We know the genre of monsters destroying the city or fighting. And then it got interesting when there were two monsters fighting each other. And let me tell you personally, I have been, not only do I see it out in the world, I felt like there's been that kind of anxiety in my own life. It's all the anxiety I make up, but I've just been feeling like that. And I've changed all of my passwords to this: remain 7 calm star. Yeah, I faked you out. It's not exactly that, but remain something calm, okay? Almost every, because you know how you have to make new passwords all the time. So, remain calm. And that, although it's a nice hint, takes me only so far, right? Now, how do we, in the face of great trouble, I picked a silly example, Mothra and Godzilla. It's pretty silly, right? But what really feels like big trouble to us is not silly. And eventually, we must stop screaming and running around and stop. I'm giving us an overview today of some of the ways to remain calm. But before that, I want to say that I actually, even though I'm talking about remaining calm and that was the topic for this week, I actually have something extremely happy and beautiful to share. Up in that sound booth, Roland's back. So, my husband's had surgery and he's been gone. He's been recovering, and so he's back today. And that really has been a lot of my Godzilla versus Mothra stuff, And the funny thing is, so it's been a real situation, but I can't tell you how many times I worried about stuff I did not need to worry about. And how many times it's possible that I made a few things worse. I think he might be nodding or hopefully chuckling. It's possible that I made a few things worse. Just Saturday was an example. We'd had a prescription in the mail. We also had, Roland goes to the VA. We're also working with the University of Iowa, so it's a little complicated. I had woke up in the middle of the night convinced that the VA was going to mess with me about getting this prescription. And in a way, I think when I actually went to the VA with the prescription, and there was a little confusion, I think I created it worse than it ever had to be. I mean, it all got settled, but I actually watched myself creating the situation much worse than it had to be. And actually, if I had just been relaxed and calm, everything would have been a little bit better. I think one particular clerk might have had a nicer day. I think I scared her. I wasn't mean, I was just firm. Right, I did not have my Unity shirt on, so. But here's the deal that I know. There's amazing ways to remain calm. Training for the great trouble with the little trouble. This is a Buddhist approach. So you train for the things that are really bad, like Mothra and Godzilla, by the little things. You could say maybe getting the prescription wrong would be a little thing, so you train with that. Getting cut off in traffic, that's a little thing. People who annoy you, that's actually a little thing. And we train with that. We train with the little things by remaining calm and bringing up our loving kindness for ourselves and everybody in the room or everybody in this situation. Pema Chodron, who's one of my favorite teachers, advises meditation, and then a very specific meditation called Tonglen, which in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get specific about these, but for now I'm going to give us an overview. All right, so there's training for the great trouble with the little trouble, and underneath that is meditation, okay, or some kind of centering practice. A Course in Miracles is also a training program. I would say that A Course in Miracles trains people with a new thought every day. If you do that, you follow that workbook, and also a meditation. And the main message of A Course in Miracles is that what you see out there is in here, and you learn how to stop projecting. Like, for example, when I look out at the world and I see something terrible, even though and I'm not saying things that are happening are not upsetting to people. I'm just saying, if it's bothering me, I need to look at it inside. I need to see where I am not peaceful. I need to see where I am acting without kindness. I need to see where I am holding guilt for not being whole. That's what A Course in Miracle teaches us. Byron Katie's The Work also teaches about projection and mirror. She has a wonderful spiritual practice where you just allow yourself to judge and then you turn it around as a mirror. It's very helpful. We'll be doing that in a couple of weeks too. So I was thinking that all of these ways are a little bit of a combination of using, they're processes, right? You're thinking and you're using your feelings. So I would say all of those things I talked about were a combination of both. You're using your mind to train and you're using your feelings to see where you might need to train your mind. And then I thought about Jesus in the New Testament. I thought, well, what would the teaching be about his actions and teachings overall? And I really thought that most of the stories in the New Testament talk about a quantum leap. I would say maybe the parables, some of that's about changing our mind. Certainly all the times we're supposed to forgive, that might be more about feelings. But when I think about things like the miracles, that's like a quantum leap. And I've really recently become very fascinated with the teachers that teach us just to choose higher. The very first metaphysical workshop I encountered, way before I even found Unity, I came from Catholic Church to nothing because it didn't make sense to me. And then I wandered into a workshop in the 80s, like a lot of us were doing, those self-help workshops. And the teacher there was talking about, think of the highest thought for all concerned. Okay? Like, can you find the highest thought? And that person talked about enlightenment as if it were a state of consciousness. That was a completely new idea to me, but in going back, I realized that really is quite the message in the New Testament. That we can shift our consciousness. Unity interprets many of the things that Jesus taught as saying, become the Christ self. It's a leap in consciousness. And sometimes the letting go, I don't know how attached you are, but I seem to be apparently very attached to being miserable sometimes. Or making it hard, or, waking up in the middle of the night with the fear and, grappling with the fear, enjoying the fear, whatever it is about making it real, instead of taking a leap of consciousness, instead of the miracle. And so today I wanted us to get a little excited about the miracle, about walking on water, about just choosing out of the misery, as it were. Some of the teachers that teach that, David R. Hawkins, Paul Selig, Eckhart Tolle, they teach about choosing the higher level of consciousness. Now, we do have to be where we are, right? That's always the start. You kind of get that awareness. That's why the mindfulness works. You have to be where you are, and we need this magic bullet. I'm calling this the magic bullet. Impartial self-awareness. Can we have some self-awareness? Can we get where we are in the moment and actually look at ourselves and observe ourselves with that space or that perspective, and know who we are? And then apply it to the leap in consciousness, to the miracle, to when you think about all the miracles in the New Testament that Jesus performed, he certainly had a leap in consciousness, and oftentimes the people did too. Like, if you have faith and touch my robe, you will believe. If you have faith, your blindness will be cured. A lot of those stories. And that's a leap in consciousness. And when we get tired of watching Godzilla and Mothra in our mind and act out in our lives, whatever that is, one of the things we can do spiritually is take a leap in consciousness. So I came up with a little 3-part phrase. A quantum leap didn't seem to hit it for me. So I thought of Mind the Gap. You've seen that sign, Mind the Gap? It's a British thing. It means bring your mindfulness to there's a space or a hole or a space. And so here we go. Mind the gap, that's awareness. Wade the gap, practice with your small trouble, so like get into it. And then leap the gap, walk on water. So mind the gap, wade the gap, leap the gap for our trouble. Mind the gap, awareness. Wade the gap, practice with small trouble. Leap the gap, walk on water. So today, for the rest of the day, and I hope you join me, I'm going to walk on water. Let's take an offering for unity.